Hello and welcome. $1 billion, not a small sum by any means, and it's what the Gulf Emirate of Abu Dhabi has to play with to make films and media productions. The Abu Dhabi Media Company and its subsidiary, Imagination Abu Dhabi, has been moving aggressively to make use of its strong resource to promote the region as a media hub and attract high-profile collaborations.
And I think with collaboration with financial bodies here and aspiring filmmakers here and an infrastructure here that will join us, SBK Pictures, in producing these beautiful films, I think the results could be spectacular, really spectacular. That you will have a global sharing in that round of applause that comes when a film does well, that you will have some very interesting people, very interesting group of people standing up and bowing at the end of that process.
In a bold step to boost its joint ventures with established international media organizations, Abu Dhabi Media Company has announced a joint venture with National Geographic. It came as Hollywood descended upon Abu Dhabi for the Middle East International Film Festival, attracting stars such as Antonio Banderas, his wife Melanie Griffith, and Oscar winner Adrian Brody.
The beauty of it is that I've experienced a lot and had a chance to travel the world and live in locations that are very exotic. I shot in India, I've shot in many places around the world.
We'll review the Middle East International Film Festival in the second part of the show, but now joining me to discuss the filmmaking ambitions of Abu Dhabi Media Company is its chief executive, Edward Borgading. Ed, what has prompted Abu Dhabi to move so aggressively in the field of production, filmmaking and so on?
Well, I think that what you're seeing in Abu Dhabi right now is a real dynamic environment. You know, there's a lot of industries in Abu Dhabi that are growing outside the borders of the country. I mean, you've seen lots of deals that have been announced and lots of industries that have been announced, and I think that there is a confluence of a lot of interesting things right now. There is a lot of capital flowing into the region, and it's a small country, and so you can't build industries and invest capital and grow within a small environment. And I think it's normal. You see it all over the world. You see Indian companies now that are benefiting from explosive growth and the accumulation of capital, and they invest in overseas enterprises. You've seen it in China. We've seen it from the Japanese over the years. So it's a normal. To me, it is a normal economic activity that is occurring now in Abu Dhabi and to some extent throughout the rest of the Middle East. And the media company is participating in that dynamism.
There's no hanging around though, is there? It's like, you know, in a matter of months, things get signed up, things get done. It's kind of a let's go before the boat leaves, you know.
Well, I don't think that there is overnight successes, and I think that, you know, a swan on the surface underneath the feet are paddling very hard. And certainly in our case, I mean, we announced some of our initiatives, Imagination, the creation of Imagination, at the beginning of September. But we've been working very hard on it for a very long time. And I think when we announced that, we had indicated that we were going to announce 3 relationships, you know, in short order, and we've announced the second one now.
Right. I'll get onto that in a sec. Now, what specifically? What sort of partnerships? What kind of productions are you looking to get into?
Well, media companies do 2 things: they create content and they distribute it and exploit it, and so it's very natural for the Abu Dhabi Media Company, and Imagination is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Abu Dhabi Media Company, which is a vertically integrated media with television, radio, print, and so on. And so we are looking for, it's a business, you know, the film business, you know, if you don't make money, there is no sustained activity, there is no business. So we're looking for movies that, you know, high quality and tell good stories and ultimately are commercially successful.
The cynics might ask, why go to the Middle East to make a movie?
Well, I think any producer in the world will tell you that, and we're no different than any other producer in the world, which is that producers look to make the highest quality they can at the lowest price. And so People will come here for the financing, and they'll come here for the development, but where we actually shoot the movie will be a function of the story itself and cost. And so we'll shoot some stories here, and we'll tell, and some elements of Imagination will be very focused. It's a part of Imagination called Film Arabia that will be very focused on Arabic filmmakers, Arabic stories that either stay here and shot in Arabic or that have the potential to cross over. And so those will be primarily shot around the region, I would assume. Certain Hollywood movies will be shot here if the story dictates it, and we can shoot it at the right price. But as a producer and a businessman, if we can shoot it in other studios around the world, in India or in China or in Eastern Europe, where a lot of studios are, we'll shoot them there.
How much of the mission is to try to redress some of the misconceptions about the Arab world, though, and Muslims, but specifically the Arab world?
Yes. Well, I think these things happen, you know, in mysterious ways. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, you have to understand me better." I think it needs to be a relationship that you develop with someone over time, and it's iterative. And you know, when I learn more about you, you'll learn a little bit more about me, and friendships build over time. And I think crossing that bridge by telling stories in a good way will help.
I'm thinking more about the fact that it's, or at least people see it as a fact, that Hollywood has negatively portrayed, you know, certain parts of the world, including the Arab world more recently, and that there is generally a negative view of Muslims in the Arab world.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that there's a lot of people around the world that look at that and think it's completely ridiculous, which of course it is. But how you change those misconceptions when one side of the world media perhaps is trying to reinforce that idea, and there's another half or another element of society now that's going to say, well, wait a second, that's not actually accurate or even remotely true. And so I think if we can make some stories that cross those bridges, it would be great.
What about the resources? You have an enviable amount, you know, $1 billion. How are you going to spend it?
Well, we have a business plan, and we looked at what we were trying to achieve in terms of our company's goals and objectives and strategies for running our business. And so we've allocated a certain amount of money to achieve those goals. You know, we have three major divisions in Imagination itself: the Hollywood side, the Film Arabia side, and then another allocation of monies for objectives that we want to achieve in digital media.
Now, you have a lot of experience in the media, and you've worked and lived in Britain, in Hong Kong, you were with Disney. How do you compare this region in terms of the way it's growing, the way it's got its sort of kickstart into production and filmmaking, compared with other regions? How quickly will it mature?
It is a very dynamic region and with lots of potential, but it is has certain structural issues that need to be resolved when you look at the Middle East itself as a media environment for the exploitation of media. The systematic windowing of a movie, for instance, from the cinema to pay TV, to video, to pay TV, to free TV, and so on, digital media. I mean, these sorts of systematic exploitation of content doesn't exist in the Middle East the way it would exist in the United States and Western Europe and so on and so forth. And there's piracy issues here that are sort of compounding the difficulty in exploiting your content and getting your money back. So there's two sides to every media product. One is the cost of making it, and then it's, can I get my money back? And if you don't get your money back, I would much rather take that money and give it to a charity rather than to just give it to some film producer who's going to make it and lose it for us. And so I'm working on, and there's other people in the region working on, is to build the environment, the structural business environment within which we can hire and pay and make successful the creative talent that undoubtedly exists in abundance in the Middle East.
And there are people who worry that, you know, the region has only just started to open up in terms of media, that there might be issues of censorship, there may be restrictions on what you can do. Have you faced anything like that?
I mean, it is, you know, I think you see censorship all over the world in their own way. Sometimes it's more subtle, sometimes it's not. But in this part of the world, it is one of its great strengths in the Middle East is the conservative nature, to some extent, in the family values and the respect that they have for their culture and so on. So when you're taking stories, you know, you have to be aware of the culture that you're in. You can't go to the United States and say certain things there either, and you can't go to China and say certain things there either. And so in this part of the world, you know, the beauty is that strong conservative, you know, respect for values and the relationships with families. And so we will always make you know, content that will talk to, you know, a global audience in Image Nation itself. But at the same time, most of the content that's created around the world doesn't affect anyone, and people just like it.
So if we were to talk 10 years from now, what could we sort of look forward to? Could we say that the company has a number of hits under its belt, that it's been, you know, looking at diverse output? What?
Oh, Riz, I hope so. I hope so. It would be great. And I think that the home run scenario for us would be to take a story that comes from this region and that crosses over and becomes popular in the United States and popular around the world. I think that would be an important achievement for our company here, but also be one of those things that maybe drives that greater understanding between the two people, and that would be a good accomplishment for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, coming up after the break, Hollywood comes to Abu Dhabi as the Middle East International Film Festival lays out the red carpet for the stars. We'll be right back.